Brad Huffman from Huffman Huffman joins us today as well. Brad, this is our first time meeting.
It is.
So
yeah.
we're meeting in a very public setting here, but it's a pleasure nonetheless.
Real pleasure. Yeah.
And how's everything going with you on this Thursday?
Everything's doing great. The traffic was very light, very smooth coming over here.
Okay, good.
Got a good start.
And you have a natural knack for media, I can already tell, because you kind of segued us right into our main topic today. You're talking traffic out on the roads. Traffic isn't the only thing that can cause a hazard on the roadways. We want to focus on distracted driving today.
Yes.
I think everyone watching inherently knows that distracted driving is dangerous, right?
Yes, of
and yet
course.
so many people still do it.
Yes.
And part of the reason I believe that that's the case is because knowing about it in the abstract is one thing, but actually experiencing the consequences is another. Could you talk about some of those real world consequences that could come from distracted driving?
Yeah, and that's what we see at the practice just about every day. Some horrible, horrible accidents. They're just not paying attention, and they take their eyes off the road. And the number one problem that we've seen over the years is texting. And that's getting really, bad on the highways. It's causing a lot of havoc on the highways. And
since the advent of texting is sort of a lot of our primary forms of communication, has it just gotten worse and worse every year? Has there been any sort of improvement?
No, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I'd say over the last 7 or 8 years, it just continually gets worse and worse every year. There's a lot of different types of distraction, but texting seems to be the worst.
Yeah.
Because you're taking your eyes off the road, you're taking your focus off the road, and you're concentrating on a text. It's a very dangerous thing. In fact, I think the statistics shows if you're going 55 miles an hour and you look at a text, which is typically 4 to 5 seconds, that's like driving a football field blindfolded. It's very dangerous. And we see too much of that, unfortunately. We see the...
Yeah. I think so many people think of 4 seconds as, it'll just be quick. But when you kind of compare it to distance traveled, you're doing quite a bit in that 4 seconds.
Yeah.
In the most dangerous possible state. You are in a traveling, sort of like giant metal weapon if it is not used with focus and care.
Yes.
I'm wondering, you mentioned how there's lots of distractions, but texting seems to be the primary one.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight as to why texting in particular has such a grip on distracting drivers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things involved. You have you've got like a mental distraction. If somebody's in the car and, you turn around to talk to them, that's more of a mental distraction. You have a manual distraction where you take your hands off the wheel to maybe, I've seen people eat lunch while they're driving, drinking coffee while they're driving. And then you have the cognitive part of it, where they just take their mind off their driving instead of focusing on their driving. And the texting really involves all three of those. Because you're taking your eyes off the road to look at the text, taking your hands off the wheel sometimes to do that, and you're really thinking about that text and taking your mind off the road. And the traffic conditions here, they're terrible in Tidewater. Now, I had pretty good traffic conditions coming over today. I didn't see anybody texting today. But typically that's not the case.
I grew up here in Hampton Roads. I drive from Virginia Beach to Norfolk for work every day, and you're not kidding. I mean, it is there's a constant need to be aware of anything when you're going across 64, 264, taking those off ramps into the city. It's absolutely critical, and yet, as you said, we still see this issue where people are on their phones texting while they're driving. But I want to ask about the people who, if someone were to say to you, Brad, I only text when I stop at a red light. When you hear something like that, right? Or when things are moving slow, or when what's your advice to people who have those kind of little caveats that they try to work in?
I would advise them not to do it. I mean, it's just not worth it. If the text is that important, take the time to go off the road, just for a minute or two and return that text, or, focus on that text that you got. But, if you're at a stoplight, you're only there for so long. At some point, the light's going to turn green. Driving slowly is not going to help you. That's an excuse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're getting a text and it's really that important, just pull over.
Yeah.
And take care of it. Yeah, it's not that
Take care of it. You'll be right back on the road.
Exactly. Yeah. No accidents.
No accidents whatsoever. If there are people who kind kind of are wondering if there is legislation in place at this point that's trying to solve this issue. Is there any sort of, what is the law right now when it comes to how culpable you are if A, you are caught distracted driving, or B, you are in an accident where you're at fault and you were, distracted while driving?
Yeah, well, if you're in an accident and you caused that accident because you were texting, you're in big trouble with that. I mean, that's where we get involved. We'd have to make a claim against that person if our client was injured in that accident. As far as any traffic violations, you're not allowed to hold the phone while you're driving. Now, technically, you can hold it while you're parked or you're stopped, but if you're driving that automobile, you're not allowed to hold that phone in your hand. If you do that and they catch you doing that, then I think the first offense is a $125 fine. Second offense is double that, $250 fine. But that's the extent of the traffic infraction.
Mm-hmm.
The real problem is when they're distracted and they cause an accident.
Yeah.
And that's where people can get seriously injured. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
It's one of those things where leading up to it, maybe you never think it could happen to you. You feel
Yes.
like, oh, I can pull this off. I'm
Right,
focused.
yes. That's a good
but
point.
it is never, ever the case. It can happen to anyone if you're not doing the right things on the roads.
Right.
I'm wondering, also, there's that thing of if you had to look back after one of these accidents
Right.
and just think, oh, if I had just put that phone down, but then it's too late.
Right.
And now,
Nothing you can
people
do.
have been hurt or worse.
Exactly.
I'm wondering, do you see this more in young people than you do in older people? Because I know young
Yeah.
people have grown up with cell phones as sort of an extension of their hand in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's a good question. We do. Yeah, we do. In fact, I think the number one cause of death for teenagers is car crashes. And texting plays a big part in that. And that's a shame. I mean, I think the statistics show that 11 children are killed each year, or 11 people under the age of 18 years old are killed in traffic accidents every year. And it's preventable.
Yeah.
A lot of it is.
And that's the thing, totally preventable. There's
Yeah.
so many things in life that could happen to us that we simply can't control. If there are ones that we can control,
Yes.
you best to do everything you can to control them.
Right.
Give yourself the best chance that you have to live a life where you're not hurt and you don't hurt other people.
Right.
I'm wondering, because when you are a kid, when you have just gotten that license and all the way up through, who knows, different for every person, but there is
Right.
that air of invincibility.
Yes.
Where you have not had the life experiences to understand that things could happen.
Right.
If you were talking to one of your children or to anyone who's listening, I mean, it feels impossible to impress upon them how real and critical this is. Is there anything you can think of to try to go that extra mile to convince kids that this is a real thing?
Yeah, I mean, we see it firsthand. We see the aftermath of that, and there's serious injuries. There's death involved in some of these accidents that we see. And it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah, and
I mean-
if people want, they hear you and they want to stop doing this, but in some cases, I've talked to people anecdotally who say, look, I'm driving down the road, I didn't even really totally realize I was on my phone. It wasn't even a conscious decision.
Yeah.
It's so habitual now for people. Are there strategies that you guys have kind of researched a little bit as to how people can try to prevent this?
Not really, to be honest with you, not that I'm aware of. But the thing with texting, I mean, it's one thing if you're not paying attention, you run a red light or a stop sign. But texting, that's more of an intentional act. That text comes in and you intentionally take that text and take your mind off the road, or take your mind off driving and your eyes off the road. That's the part that we really don't like about texting. It's not just what we call negligence or carelessness.
Yeah.
You're intentionally taking a look at that phone when you know better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you're putting other people
At
at risk. Yeah, I mean, there's something you brought up that I thought was really interesting, which is there's kind of the obvious, if you're not looking, that's dangerous. But you brought up that cognitive distraction.
Right.
And how that can be just as big of a factor. I mean, if you are not, even if your eyes are on the road, if you're not focused and thinking about what you're doing, that's a distraction in and of itself. So you guys see that pretty often too. People are looking right out their front window, but they're not paying attention.
Right. The cognitive, I think, is the worst part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people who, I had a friend who has been trying to kind of habitually get their spouse to stop texting and driving. And they said that the person can kind of text without looking. and so my eyes are on the road, but I'm texting, and there's that is just as dangerous. It is something I think that you've really clarified here.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Her eyes are on the road, but her mind's not on the driving. So
Right.
yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's something that is never, ever, ever going to be worth it. We promise that that text that you might send or that post that you might like is not going to be worth it for the consequences that could come from it. So is there anything else that you want to add, Brad?
No, not really. Just please don't do it. April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and that's why we're here this morning. And just want to let everybody know, or maybe remind people, the importance of keeping your eyes and your focus on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great message. It's a very real message. It's one that can go in and out, but please, if you're watching today, take a moment to really think about, consider this, and know that there are those real world consequences. Brad, we appreciate you coming in this morning and hanging with us. You know, we don't get guests in studio that often.
Yeah.
A lot of time it's over Zoom, so it's nice to have you here and actually get to talk to you in person. We appreciate it.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Yeah, it was very nice to meet you, Connor.
Cool. Hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that is Brad Huffman from Huffman Huffman talking about something that is more, as he said, more and more of a problem with each passing year here in society. And it's something that, again, until those consequences come, you might think that you're immune, but nobody is. Distracted driving, avoid it at all costs.